Badlands. What is a Badlands? Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
All right. Well, that didn't work out. Welcome to the show, everybody. All right, we got some ads coming here. Here we go. Where is the button? There it is. All right. Badlanders. With renewal season and open enrollment upon us, it's a good idea to review your medical insurance for the coming year. David Becker and his son Jesse of Mid-Atlantic Business Alliance are here to help you get the best PPO insurance coverage at affordable rates. If you think the cost of groceries has exploded, you should see what the hospitals are charging these days. Without the proper PPO protection, you could be liable for tens of thousands of dollars in the event of surgery or hospital. Mid-Atlantic Business Alliance has been helping small businesses and self-employed individuals save money and get the best possible insurance protection since 1990. Having a great nationwide network like Cigna will help you keep your costs down while providing the highest level of coverage. Call David to get a quote today at 609-577-8557. That's 609-577-8557. Or visit badlandsmedia.tv/Becker. Attention, all you Badlanders with purring pals and feathered friends, say hello to Love Litters. 100% pure, kiln-dried wood, free from chemicals, and oh so kind to Mother Earth. No dust or mess, no toxins, just a lightweight solution that's gentle on your wallet and even gentler in your home. Our biodegradable litter is crafted from wood destined for landfills, giving it a new purpose in your pet's life. Cats love it. Astonishing formula works with like magic to neutralize the notorious cat urine odor, keeping your home pine fresh and welcoming.
Well, you don't like the smell of cat urine?
I know, come on. For bird lovers, it zaps moisture from bird droppings, crumbling them away, all while being safe if pecked or ingested. For reptiles or critters, too, our mix is crafted to dilute the pine scent, ensuring those little lungs stay happy and healthy. Plus, every 30-pound bag of Love Litters will last up to 6 months, saving you money. Transform your pet routine today. Visit badlandstv/litter. That's badlandsmedia.tv/litter. With a litter that loves your pet as much as we do.
I like how we were on the screen that whole time.
I know, right? It's great. Well, I wanted to have it was a community affair. So welcome, everybody. This is Badlands Media Interviews. We have an amazing guest today. Good friend of ours who we had the pleasure of meeting over at GART, and we have had the pleasure of being on his show. Dr. Z is not a real doctor, but neither is Fauci. He's a music business escape. Dr. Z is a music business escape turned stand-up philosopher, author, content creator. He had a spiritual awakening in 2013, which caused him to leave the music biz behind. But he's OD'd on red pills wouldn't commence until the pandemic led to a rigged election coup up to 2020. He's the host of several patriotic edutainment shows, including Patriots Behind the Mic, Center Stage with Dr. Z, Glitch in the Matrix, Kids for Freedom, Wicked Red Pill podcasts, and more. If you liked your red pills with a side of silly, Dr. Z is the fake doctor for you. Get a prescription today with Dr. Z. Linktree in the description. Dr. Z, how's it going, buddy?
What's up, guys?
Welcome to the show.
Cool, man. I can't tell you how excited I am to be here making my Badlands debut, but I'm also excited to, for the first time in well over 100 shows, I don't have any responsibilities except to sit here and answer questions. I don't have to produce anything. I don't have to load any videos. I don't have to read ads. I can just watch you guys work.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you got to take it easy. We got it all covered, buddy.
Thanks for having me, guys.
John, not much. Doing the whole holiday busy thing. What you been up to?
Yeah, man. I went out to I'm in Florida. I went to a patriotic event out in Winter Haven last weekend with SG and On was there, and Patriot Street Fighter and 107, and bunch of other people. So got to see the patriotic movement and hear people swear from a church stage, which I always enjoy. Hung out with my friends. So I've been kind of I stayed on the Patriots Street Fighter bus for a few days. Those who don't know, I used to be the Patriots Street Fighter tour manager. That's how I got really involved in this work, was by just going out and finding Scott McKay on the road and saying, let me help. And that's led to lots of different things and lots of great connections. But man, being out on the road is exhausting. So I'm recovering from the cold that's out there.
Yeah, and it's expensive too, driving around all over the place like a madman. So
yeah.
So Scott McKay is the Patriot Street Fighter. Does he have other monikers, or is that it?
No. There are other guys there. SG on 107. I know a lot of people on Badlands have a lot of mixed feelings about those guys, and everybody can feel how they want.
Sure.
I know those guys pretty well, and I know them to be good men. 107. This was the first time I met him, and I was actually, quite honestly, I was kind of on the fence about that guy. I didn't know either, but I was really impressed with him as a person, and I won't share what we talked about in private, but I was very impressed with him, and I think those guys are all doing good work. So, I try to support as many people as I can in the movement, knowing that there are some phonies and there are some con men and women out there, and that sucks. But that's how we learn discernment too, by figuring it out for ourselves. So.
Yeah, and I kind of tend to think that, like, I think about this like World War II situation. Like, I might not like all the people that are on the field with me, but if they're fighting the enemy, then I should at least learn to live with them. Something like that,
Unless the stuff that they're saying is like putting a bad taste in people's mouths.
Yeah, but if it advances the cause of freedom, maybe it's not such a bad.
It's just
idea.
hard to know on a case basis.
That's the thing, Ryan, is like, you can say a lot of things about guys like Charlie Ward, for instance, but it's indisputable that the guys helped wake up a lot of people. So whether he's a grifter or not is like between him and God. And, I personally don't listen to his shows anymore, but there was a time when I did, and it helped me advance my awakening. And so what I like to say to people, to Justin's point, is that we don't have to agree with each other. We're not going to all the time. We don't even have to like each other. We're not going to all the time. All we got to do is stick together and unite against evil. That's really the mission, as best we can. And, obviously there are exceptions. We're not going to unite with pedophiles. Just not going to happen. That's the most obvious example, but there are others, obviously, too.
So what is your mission statement, or what's your drive behind the Patriots Behind the Mic and some of the stuff you've been doing?
Yeah. So look, the way I look at it, I work for God, and I do what I'm called to do, and I say what I'm called to say. People don't always like it. I don't always like it, quite frankly. But so I wake up every day and I just ask God for guidance. I have my list of things that I think I should do and say, and then God laughs and crumbles it up and throws it away and says, here's what I'd like you to do. And then I just do that, because I've learned that not doing that results in really difficult times. As hard as this time is, it gets easier if you follow the guidance from above or from within. I like to remind people of a dream I had years ago when my spiritual awakening started. God told me that faith stands for fostering awareness in the heart. And so that's where I try to keep my focus, because that's how I connect to God. If we get caught up in the ego or our minds too much, we can go off tracks. And that's when this is hard enough as it is. We don't need to make it more difficult on ourselves.
Yeah, that's true.
My mission is just to, look, when I left the music business, it was because of the Boston Marathon bombing. I realized that we can't keep treating each other like this. Now, I didn't know about false flags and all that stuff at that point. But what I did know was that I had to do something that could serve humanity. The first half of my life being in the music business, I had this great lifestyle. People thought I had the coolest life. And I was pretty much miserable because it was shallow and lonely. And when that happened, it really shook me to my core, because it happened 6 miles from where I grew up, and they caught the guys a quarter mile from the house I grew up in. So it really shook me and made me realize I got to do something. I started to get these messages about writing a book, even though I wasn't a writer. So that turned into this book. You can see through it because it's green. Zilosophy on golf.
That's quite the framing.
And that's clearly a green screen behind me if you hadn't figured that out.
Oh, really? I was fooled for a minute.
Yeah, that's great.
A lot of people do get fooled by that. I have to start telling people now. So I wanted to just help. Like, what and how can I help? By becoming the best person I'm capable of being and telling that story publicly. And that's really what Zilosophy turned into, my philosophy on life about what are the things that I need to work on to be the best person I'm capable of being, such that I can be an example for humanity. And, so I released that book in 2018, started to build up I was close to launching a very successful book tour, talking to kids in schools all over the country, and then COVID hit. And as you read in my bio, that was the first red pill for me. Like, wait a minute, how come my tinfoil hat friends got that right immediately and I didn't know that this was about stealing our right and freedoms? And so I had that sinking feeling, oh shit, I wonder what else they were right about. And then when the election happened, or the selection, I should say, and I decided to look into election fraud for myself, hoping to disprove that it was a big deal. So I watched the Arizona, the Michigan, and the Pennsylvania hearings, all of them, the entirety of them. And I was blown away by how much evidence was presented. Not only was it not baseless, it was an insult to my intelligence to call it baseless, that there was evidence of massive election fraud. So I literally for the next 3-4 months did nothing but research. I stopped everything. And all I did was research and red pill, to the point where I finally got to look into satanic pedophilia. And I fell to my knees and begged God to forgive me that I hadn't done more to stop it. And that was the minute where I said, okay, I'm already working for you, God, but this is it. The chains are off. Whatever I can do to help fight this evil that we're up against, that I mocked and faked, mocked all my tinfoil hat friends up till that point, like we all did, and like many do to us now. That was the moment that changed everything. I was like, I don't care what people say about me. I don't care what it looks like. I'm going to go help end this as best as I can. And that's really what my mission is, I try to take a silly approach to it because it's so freaking hard, this war, that I think we need to laugh during it. And that's why one of the reasons I love Badlands is it's full of goofballs who joke around during serious shit. That's why I watch a lot. And I see people go after John, you should really be more mature, John. You're running this company. I'm like, no, he shouldn't. We need to laugh because this is fucking ridiculous what we're going through. And if we don't laugh, we might not make it. So
and that's part of the reason.
No, that's okay. I was just going to recap. I try and keep it serious but funny at the same time to the best of my ability.
Well, I think part of the reason why the mainstream media is losing people in droves is because there's no personality to it. There's no like honest expression happening. Right. I think that people have been so deprived of that for so long that they're flocking to places like Badlands. And I think John's probably got the right of it by being that way.
Oh yeah, exactly.
I like to needle him by reminding him that Burning Bright, his fake nemesis, is the one who really brought that culture to the forefront of Badlands, because that guy obviously just can't help himself. He's just a Bostonian wise ass, which is why obviously I like him so much. I am too. And he's brilliant. And like, you can be really smart and say really important things, and you can be a goofball wise ass too. Why not?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's, I think, to Ryan's point, there's so much like dry fakeness that is in the media and politics and everywhere. It's just like endemic in our society. And when you see somebody actually being like real and vulnerable, in a way that they don't necessarily care about the backlash from the people that are like, oh, that's unprofessional. They're just trying to like connect with people, say what needs to be said and be real about it. I think that's a lot of power.
I think authenticity as a whole is missing from our society. Look at what we all let it become. The reality, the over adoration of celebrity and all the crap, right? Like there's very little. We got to a place, and these fake influencers on social media that, girls that are saying that they're standing up for the strength of women while showing their ass and tits all over the internet to make a living. Like, that's not a strong woman. I'm sorry. Make money if you're doing that. If you want, that's your business, but don't pretend that that supports women, right? Like, you know, that's one of the craziest things to me that I realized in this awakening is what feminism did to women. It absolutely destroyed them. And we can see that in the most extreme example now, where feminists are cheering for men, biological men, to compete in women's sports.
Yeah, it's totally insane.
You know, again, that's a lack of authenticity. So good or bad, I say it all the time. You guys might have heard me say this. I don't enjoy the spotlight. This is not what I want to be doing with my life. I don't want to be famous. I don't want to be rich. I want to be left alone and live in peace, but I can't do that while kids are being raped and murdered. So here I am. And I come with, you know, I'm authentic to a fault. I'm not perfect. I say things and do things still, even though I'm awake now, right? The more you wake up, the more you realize that you don't know. So yeah, I still make mistakes. I just got a 12-hour ban for X while I was waiting backstage because I was trolling this closet homo on X, and I couldn't help myself. It was too much fun. And now so now my X audience has to live without me for 12 hours. I think they'll be fine.
So did you start? Maybe not just, did you start with Patriots Behind the Mic? Were you doing other similar video podcast thing before that? I saw a video.
I was on sorry, go ahead. Finish the question.
I just saw a clip of you and your mom, I think, baking maybe, or doing crafts or something like that.
Okay.
As part of Zilosophy, after writing this see-through book that you can find on Amazon, I wanted to do something more. So I started speaking at schools, and then I decided, even before I was awake to the blatant public abuse of children, I wanted to create content for kids that was godly and showed them, you know, skills in life that we need about being patient and accepting things that you can't control. So I created the show called Zilosophy TV with Uncle Z and friends, and it was all these silly characters I do, like that's Old School Bobby, host of the Wicked Red Pill podcast, and he's just a Boston guy who's wicked evolved, but he still talks like this. And you know, now I have a character, Jen Confused, and she's like really offended by everything, you know. So I use all these silly characters to tell the story of what's going on. So I started that show, and then COVID hit, and like I said, I just dropped everything. I'm now reworking that show as Dr. ZTV with Dr. Z and friends, and it's going to be sort of a cross between Mr. Rogers and Saturday Night Live, with, you know, dishing out a bunch of red pills, with me just doing different characters and talking about different concepts in the awakening that, whether you're awake or just waking up or on the verge of waking up, would be helpful. And again, I think we learn more when we laugh, so I try and keep it light and funny. But to answer your question, within the patriotic movement, I started on Glitch in the Matrix with Alpha Warrior and Dan Radio Style. We're about to do our 100th episode next week. I joined them in the late 20s. So I was just kind of doing that after I got off the road from patriotic touring and wasn't really on the front lines anymore. I was just kind of resting and recuperating. And then those guys really pushed me. They're like, dude, you need to start a show. You need to start a show. And I'm like, well, I'm going to get bored if I do what everybody else is doing. So I came up with this idea. What if I interview all the digital warriors? Because we see you guys reporting news, but we don't know who you are as a person and what the human story is behind your story. And because you're constantly reporting news and current events, most of you guys don't take the time to tell your story. And I thought that that would be some pretty compelling content. Turns out I was right. I've had tons of great guests on there, including you guys and most of the people at Badlands, and some other big names elsewhere in the patriotic movement. So that led me to creating more and doing a show called Kids for Freedom, where I have an 11-year-old co-host. He's a patriot from Canada.
Nice.
and he knows more about U.S. history and current events than most American adults. And so we teach kids how to do this. How do you do a podcast? How do you talk about these things in a way where you're being kind and respectful, but you're not cowering and kneeling to being politically correct at the expense of being authentic and honest. So yeah, I'm coming up on a year of when I launched Zilosophy for All, the channel on Rumble, when I launched Patriots Behind the Mic. And funny story I've never told. When I created an Instagram for the golf book, and I was touring around and going to golf events and talking about this personal help book that has nothing to do with golf really, but it will help you play better golf. I went on Instagram and the username Zilosophy was taken. So I wasn't very patriotic at that time. I was fairly patriotic, but nothing like I am now. And I didn't want to do, again, I didn't want to be like everybody else. So I didn't want to do real Zilosophy, the only Zilosophy or whatever. And I was like, cool, Zilosophy for All is a cool name. And now it turns out that's the name I use for everything because it's patriotic and it describes the message I'm trying to put out there is that I'm just a guy like anybody else out there trying to do my best and share the story of me attempting to do my best.
Yeah. I mean, that's all we can really do is just try to do the best we can with what we got to work with, And I think everybody needs to get involved, and it seems like more and more people are. Like, you said earlier that the SRA topic kind of like really sparked something with you. Is that right? Like that was the thing that kind of really propelled you into this?
That was the moment where I was like, I was literally thinking about going to Costa Rica and writing my second book and waiting till this all blows over, thinking it might be a year or two tops. And when I found out about how rampant pedophilia was, I was like, I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I wasn't doing everything I can. That was the moment that I said I dropped everything and went out on the road to find patriotic tours, and that because I used to be a concert promoter and producer, and I was now a speaker, so I could help produce, I could help MC, which I did, and that's how I got involved.
Nice. Yeah. What do you think are some of the topics? Because you've probably talked to a lot of people that have woken people up or gotten people activated.
What I think is the topics that get people into action. Is that
like just that you've had with conversations, or just some thoughts on that? Because I always find it interesting to think about these kind of things.
Yeah, I mean, to me, again, it's all about the kids. I don't have kids. I have 6 nieces and nephews, but I do feel responsible as a role model to children. I didn't always feel that way. As you heard some of my story and you watched my shows, especially the show I did with Nino, I was a degenerate, drinking, doing drugs, chasing loose women, all of it. I got married young, divorced young, and then was in the music business and living that lifestyle that everybody thought was so cool. And like I said, I was miserable. And so to me, it's about the kids. Like the craziest thing out of all the crazy stories we've seen over the last 3 years is the normalization of child abuse. You're going to kill grandma if you go near her. Wear a mask. Don't go near your friends. You can pick your gender, even though you're not old enough to choose your dinner. All of this crazy stuff is like, what are we doing? And I always say that if we don't fix that part of it, everything else, the elections and all the other stuff doesn't mean anything, because I don't even know who we are as a species if we can't protect our own children. And I just wanted to say that I don't mean I'm not, looking at this in the Joe Biden way where your kids are my kids too, because I'm not a disgusting creep. I look at it in a way that I can set an example for your children. And that's what I strive for, to be a good person such that kids will look up to me and go, I could learn something from that guy. Maybe you even learn some things, how not to do them and how not to say them. That's true too, because I'm not perfect. Right. But I try to be the best example I can be for kids. And so I think that's the thing that can really get people in action is look what they've done to our children. If you're not doing something, if you're one of the most frustrating things for us, I was joking around about how I am enjoying that I don't have to produce anything or click on anything and I can just sit here. People don't realize how hard it is because we make it look easy, right? But it's not, right? You have to get on camera, you have to be authentic, and you have to make it compelling. And you either have that or you don't. But everybody has something that they can give. Everybody has God-given gifts. You can write, you can talk to people at the local grocery store, you can create a little patriotic group, you can go to school board meetings, you can go to city council meetings. There's something you can do to help. And yes, maybe there's a plan, and yes, maybe there's only very little we can do to nudge it along, but shouldn't we be doing everything we can? I mean, I know I'm tired. I'm sure everybody else watching is tired, you know. And so every day I just get up, regardless of how tired I am, is like, okay, what can I do today to help drudge this movement forward? And I hope that everybody's doing that, you know.
So I saw you did a special with our friend, the ghost of Base Patrick Henry, on what's happening in the Middle East right now. I know that's a topic that consumes most of my life on a daily basis, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I
I haven't even had enough time to read all your stuff, man. I'm so behind. I can't wait to read some of your articles.
Well, we're going to be slaughtering some sacred cows on tomorrow's show. So if you if you ever tune in, tomorrow's the day to do it, because we might lose half our audience.
Perfect. If that's the case, I'll be there.
yeah, please do. So what's your take on what's going on over there in the Middle East right now?
Yeah. First I wanted to talk about Ghost of Base Patrick Henry. Gordon's become a friend. We've known each other for 2.5 years now, almost, on a patriotic text group. And we used to go head to head a lot and argue about rhetoric and what we should say and shouldn't say, and what, you know, and we always did it kindly and respectfully, but you know Gordon's attitude, and you're getting a sense of mine. Like, we would butt heads a lot, but in a good spirit. And when I first brought him on my show to tell the story of his brother being murdered, I said to him on that show, brother, I hope I see you go running past me on the narrative battlefield, because that will mean I have given a hand up to somebody that went to do something fucking awesome. It doesn't have anything to do with me, and I'm not trying to take credit for that guy or that guy's work. He's just a badass, and I'm so humbled and honored that I was able to help him springboard into the Badlands world, and now just start narratively slaughtering people left and right. It's so fun to watch that guy work. He's a narrative ninja, and I love that dude. Regarding the Middle East, I'm half Armenian, which is the only Christian nation in the Middle East. It was the first Christian nation in the world. And I was raised to hate Turks because they did the Armenian genocide. And I always thought that that was kind of bullshit, because the Turks that I was being told to hate weren't the ones that did a genocide. So I have a very unique view of the Middle East, but also, now that I can layer on top of that, being awake and understanding that the news lies not just about some things, but about everything. So I was one of those on October 7th when that attack happened. I was like, this is bullshit. That, not that it's bullshit that there's an attack and people are dying, but the story that they're telling us about it is bullshit. I never believed in I mean, come on. They have an Iron Dome. They have probably the most protected airspace and border in the world, and some yahoos just kited in there and started shooting people. No way. That didn't happen. And so I said on that day that Israel either helped plan this, or they knew the plan and they ignored it on purpose.
Yeah.
And I wish I wasn't right, but it turns out I am right. Ryan would know from all his research. They've now admitted they knew the plan, and they didn't stop it. So I think the Israeli government and Hamas are two wings of the same bird. They're both terrorist groups. And I'm not talking about the Israeli people. I have a Jewish niece and nephew, right? Like, I have friends that I'm very close with who are Jewish. The Israeli government is just as corrupt as our government, if not more. So they're a terrorist organization in my book. Hamas was created by them, and then apparently they can't control them anymore. So now there's two terrorist groups killing each other. and all these innocent people are dying in the middle, and that's what I can't stand. I'm
Well, they
tired of
say they
seeing
can.
innocent people die. Sorry, go ahead.
Mhm.
They say they can't control them anymore, but is it? Maybe this was always the intention. It's hard to say.
Right.
I never trusted Netanyahu. If something doesn't feel right about that guy, he just looks like a weasel.
Yeah, it's a how has the audience reaction to your take been?
I I haven't really taken any flack for that. Not in a major way, anyways. I mean, I think people disagree with me. Some people want to stand with Israel, and I certainly understand that. I'm to the point where I don't want to stand. I'm Italian and Armenian. I don't even want to stand with those countries until we have our shit straight here. Right? Like, this is America. We were born here. We grew up here. We're supposed to be governing ourselves. That's what the shows that I did with you guys, and especially that bonus show that we all three did together, was all about. How do we learn to govern ourselves so that we can fulfill the experiment and the dream of America?
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't have our shit straight here, we shouldn't be helping any foreign countries. And let me tell you something. I think we can all agree. We don't have our shit straight here. It's a fucking disaster. And we're the ones who are responsible, not the criminals in Congress and all other levels of government. We handed them the keys. We, the people, are the government. We gave the keys to criminals, and then we were surprised that they're doing crimes. What did we think was going to happen? We have to take their toy away. They broke it. And we have to reclaim our God-given right to govern ourselves. And that's not easy, and it's not fun, but it takes a lot of work, but we can and we will do it.
Yeah, it's definitely a contentious topic, and I think they wanted to make it very difficult to talk about what's really going on, because it's very, I mean, in my mind, psychologically, it's very similar to like a sports match, and we've talked about that before. You have to pick a side, and if you haven't picked a side, then you're either an idiot or you're not invested enough or you're minimizing or something like that. And it's like, when it comes to justice, especially somebody studies law, if you really want to like do the right thing and minimize harm and actually stop harm in the future, you got to be surgical. You got to know what you're doing. You got to take each case by case, study the evidence carefully, and not jump to any wild conclusions, and certainly not paint everybody with the same brush and just start pulling triggers. But to your point about the U.S. government, like, unfortunately, the military-industrial complex is kind of their bread and butter, certainly in the 20th century. And it seems like the Israelis have the same playbook, and the Palestinian terrorist groups. So it's, in my mind, when you look at all these things, they all just seem like different variants of psychological warfare operations that have been trapped, unfortunately, people that are being used like pawns to affect the globalist agenda. And we're all getting hit with it, whether you're Jewish, whether you're Palestinian, whether you're American, whether you're black, whether you're gay, whatever it is, whatever label you want to throw out there, we're all getting the shit end of the stick. So maybe we should just stop focusing on the labels and actually focus on the real enemy at hand.
I'm gonna send you,
dude. I couldn't agree more. Look, this is the moment, the opportunity that we have as a humanity to bind together. Ghost and I are actually developing a show for Badlands about this exact topic. The working title is Unite the Tribes. And this is the time where we can come together. We can unite against the sick and evil cabal that has run this planet for a very, very long time. Thousands of years, probably. And
get a second.
Again, we don't have to agree on everything to do that. We don't even have to like each other to do that. We just have to know who the enemy is and stick together and unite against that. And so, I couldn't agree more with your sentiment that, like, it doesn't, let's get rid of the labels. We're all people. I have gay conservative friends and family who are tired of the alphabet soup thing in the gay movement. They just want to live a quiet and peaceful life and be left alone, just like the rest of us. The show concept started with me and Gordon, because he and I were both like, there's 2 billion Muslims in the world. Most of them are very good, God-loving people. And if you're Mr. or Mrs. Uber Christian and you think that we're just going to write them off and they're not going to have a seat at the table and then we're going to have world peace, that's insane. There's 2 billion of them, and most of them are good. There's fanatical jerks, just like there are in every sect. And so all we have to do is identify the jerks and root them out, but unite with the good, God-loving people of all kinds all over the world, no matter your socioeconomic status, your race, your sexual preference. Nobody cares. Good people don't care about that stuff. They just want to live their life and be left alone and not be told what to do and say and think.
Well, while we're talking about principles that we used to care about in this country, judge a person by their character, not by the color of their skin, we got people like this posting these images.
Yeah. This is the kind of propaganda we get to enjoy nowadays. Are you on the side of good or evil?
Which side do you want?
Obviously, the side with the Star of David is the good guy.
Clearly.
You got,
It's got to be, right?
Israel there, the United States, obviously Britain. These are just classic good guys.
Yeah. Come on, look at how good these guys look.
But then look at the side of evil.
They got a blade in their hand. They got to be the bad guys.
Bad guys there. You got the enemies of Israel, of course. I think
there's
the
a
dragon to represent China.
The Ayatollah's there.
There he is. You got Vladimir Putin, definitely evil. We remember all of that propaganda we were forced to consume for the last couple of years. It's interesting, though, thinking about Ukraine. It's like now they're admitting, the media is trying to act like, oh, yeah, this war, it's obviously it's unwinnable. So never mind that we were the main engine that fueled public support for this war. Let's just kind of be like, well, now, of course we knew it wasn't going to win. Wonder what the rhetoric will be 2 years from now about Israel. If the world is still in one piece at that point.
That's a good example. So the Ukraine thing, I didn't know anything about until that broke in, what was it, March of 22 when that broke about. And so I was like, okay, I can't say anything about this yet on social media till I go educate myself. So I spent a week, and the most important piece of that was watching Ukraine on Fire, the Oliver Stone film.
1 and 2. Yeah.
And that really helped sort of tell the story in a concise way so that I could research and dig into certain areas. And so, it's when people started putting their Ukrainian flags, I'm like, you're literally supporting Nazis while calling us Nazis, by the way. You're supporting actual Nazis. And I believe, this is just my belief, anybody out there can agree or disagree, that the state of Israel has been run by Nazis the whole time. The Rothschilds are Nazis. They funded the Nazis in World War II. They fought to get the state of Israel created and then never bothered to go live there. Not one Rothschild ever moved to Israel. So, I think there's going to be a lot of people going, oh, I didn't realize who we were fighting for and who we we were protecting there. And I just want to go back to that graphic that you showed. Their biggest weapon is division.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that. They're trying to burn that into our brains, that the world is divided. And maybe that's not even the real shape of it. We don't know because we've been lied to about everything.
Hold on now.
No. Look, I don't want to get into that because I don't care. When we
we
save kids, when we have all the kids safe, we can argue about whether the world is round or flat. That's my take on that.
Yeah. That's when we'll have the time and resources.
Well, the world is clearly filled with raspberry jam. And
Dude, it looks delicious.
Nobody's got it right, apparently. So,
but look
my
at
point
this.
is, if their biggest weapon is division, then ours is unity. So we're all going to have to put on our big boy and big girl pants because we're going to have to unify with people that we don't agree with. And we're going to have to unify with people that we don't even like. And it's going to be worth it.
Yeah.
That's what I liked about Trump is he would always try to find ways to negotiate and try to find common ground with people. Even the most are ostensibly our worst enemies, the most evil dictator warlords on the planet. He'd still try to find ways to work with. Seems like we could really use that right about now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. Like when he went on that CNN town hall, and they're like, "Well, whose side are you on in the Ukraine war?" And he's like, "Well, I just want people to stop dying." And the lefties lost their minds. Like, how dare he not condemn Russia? Like, he just said that he wants Russians and Ukrainians to stop dying. How could that possibly be a controversial take? but they tried to make it into one.
Mhm.
It's the spin doctors at work.
You were going to mention something about the tweet.
Just look at the language, though, used in this tweet. What does the guy say? The world is now fully divided into good versus evil. Which side are you? As if people are going to be like, I want to be evil.
Right.
It's just like, it's low, it's bottom shelf propaganda is what it is.
Yeah.
But people are
and
still
look,
falling.
if we're gonna let them divide us, let them divide us like this. I'm not on the side with pedophiles. Let's just set the record straight right
Yeah,
now.
there we go.
Whatever their side on, whatever side they're on, I'm on the other side. If we're gonna do this, if we're gonna play the sides game.
Right. Well, yeah, if we're going to do this, I mean, there is a certain level if we want to get really philosophic to this, because there is truth and falsehood. There is like malevolence and beneficence, that kind of thing. But the labels are the problem. And this, one analogy I think is maybe good for what we're talking about here is, imagine you got a bum, poor guy's down on his luck. He's homeless. He smells like piss. He hasn't cleaned himself in weeks, maybe even years.
Talk about me.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. It's like, wow, there are problems on the home front, guys.
Right. And you got somebody coming up to you, and he puts a sign on the guy and says, "This is the most put together man on earth." And you got most of the world being like, well, clearly this is the most put together man on earth, because look, that's exactly what the sign says. And despite the fact that they smell piss and shit in their nose, despite the fact that the guy can barely form a coherent sentence, and he's clearly down on his luck, and he's really having a hard time, they can't see the forest for the trees. I think that's the critical issue, and it's that same type of rhetoric that you pointed out in this tweet here, because if you look at the phrasing, the world is fully divided into good versus evil. So who wants to be on the side of evil? Nobody wants to be on the side of evil, but it's a reductive argument. It basically is designed to hijack your social systems of your brain and say, hey, you don't want to be on the other side. You want to be on the inside. So you better sacrifice your sense of intellectual integrity, what you believe to be true, any reason or logical critical thinking. Don't question anything and just do exactly what you're told. And that's exactly what people are doing most of the time, but it's being exposed, I think, at a massive level. And I think a lot of people, despite the fact that a lot of people are getting trapped into this, are starting to pull the wool from their eyes. So
yeah, the thing I love about you two guys in particular, but almost everybody at Badlands, is that you have this thing where you're constantly learning your own discernment, and you're doing it in a public way. It's just like I was talking about before with me. I'm kind of doing that too. I'm still going to get things wrong. By the way, we're all going to be wrong about some people and some takes in this narrative war.
Mm-hmm.
Probably more often than we'd like to admit.
Oh yeah.
No, we might have lost him.
Oh, he's frozen. He's just really thinking.
Yeah,
hard
he's
about
just
this.
thinking really hard.
Well, while we're waiting for him to come back, I'm going to go ahead and jump to another wonderful spot from one of our sponsors here, No Bugs Beef. Where is it? There we go. No Bugs Beef. It's delicious while I'm finding it. It's nutritious. You're going to want to have some as soon as you possibly can and get yourself some great nutrition. So here we have Badlanders have set No Bugs Beef on fire. Have you ordered? Have you faced the facts yet? America's supply chain is going to increasingly be disrupted in the coming months, which means it's not if we'll have a food shortage, it's when. Having enough protein to feed your family for several months is essential for all your survival. That's why we've partnered with badlandsmedia.tv/no bugs. They provide sous vide, freeze-dried, all-American beef from ranches in Texas that have never, ever given their cows an mRNA jab. The beef, stored in Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers for maximum shelf life, will stay shelf-stable for more than 10 years, without refrigeration and with maximum nutrition and flavor. All you need to do is soak it in water for 15 minutes, and it's ready to eat. These are not your typical survivor meats. They are premium cuts of ribeye, New York strip, tenderloin, sirloin, and chuck. Get your family ready for the chaos at badlandsmedia.tv/no bugs and use promo code Badlands for an additional 10% off your order. That's badlandsmedia.tv/no bugs. Promo code Badlands. And while you're at it, don't forget to check out Benson Honey Farms. Are you ready to embark on a journey to America's heartland through its natural, mouth-watering sweetness? From a small town in Nebraska, Benson Honey Farms brings you that and more. Indulge in authentic, unpasteurized, 100% natural honey, a product of diligent bees working the fields of wildflowers. It's a raw and robust as the spirit of Badlands. Craving something sweet? Their honey-infused candies capture the essence of Nebraska. Each bite is a delightful taste of home. Benson Honey Farms, a celebration of the America First spirit, a symbol of the resilience of your homeland. Embodying the spirit of Badlands, their family-run operation is a reminder that the true flavor of America lies in its heartland. Benson Honey Farms, proudly American, naturally delicious. Visit badlandsmedia.tv/honey and use promo code HONEY15 to take 15% off for a limited time. Get the taste of the heartland. That's badlandsmedia.tv/honey, promo code Badlands. All right. And we are back.
Oh, sorry. No, sorry. I had two StreamYards studios open when I came back, and I was
all good. But you're muted. You're muted.
Muted.
There,
There
we go.
Hey.
So yeah, one thing I wanted to ask you, unless you wanted to comment more about the Israel-Palestine thing, is about your. Oh, looks like we lost him again. All right, well, we'll just give it a moment here. Let's see, what can I pontificate?
He was probably just taken out by the Rothschilds.
That's it. We said the Rothschilds too many times. I mean, we did say a lot of hot button words. I mean, the cows might already been slaughtered here. All right, here we go. Hey, welcome back.
I can't hear you guys now.
You're not just like a Rothschild clone this time, are you?
Yeah, right. They shifted
I
you out.
can't hear anything. Oh, that's because
he can't hear it. He's gonna bring it back up in a minute. I'm gonna make sure to keep jabbering on so you can know when we're actually being heard. So there we go.
Here. Oh, there it is.
There it is.
Hey, there you go.
Hey, welcome back. Welcome back.
Woo!
Man, you're not like just a Rothschild clone or a man in a rubber suit, are you? You're the real doctor.
I was trying to. I'm a fake doctor. Let's be clear about that.
Oh,
I was saying, I wish I had planned that to make it look like the bad guys think so highly of me that they wanted to shut me up right when I was starting a great rant. But I also realized when my laptop crashed that I haven't turned it off in like 2 weeks, so it might just be that.
That sounds like something a clone would say.
Yeah.
No. Anytime there's a disruption to your anything, it's always proof that the Illuminati is after you. That's the way it works.
Yeah. Remington 78 says, "Yep, they don't want unity." That's right, man. You can't be out here talking about unity. You know, when they're trying to keep us divided and keep us on that low vibration. Back to what you were talking about, like, again, they're trying to keep us in this mindset of that we can never unite. We can't be cordial with each other, even though we're different and we think different things and we like different things. And that's just a complete fabricated lie. It always has been. We can be cool with anyone as long as they're not harming kids and trying to subvert the will of the people. Those are really the only two stipulations, I think. Maybe I'm being a little too reductive, but
you should definitely start there. That's a good place to start for sure.
Well, I think that a large majority of conservative and even alternative conservative content really just kind of fuels that divide, especially Con Inc. And of course, all of the leftist media does the same thing. It plays into identity politics. It deepens and perpetuates the divide, gets people more invested in their subjective view being right, and never is common ground something that we actually seek.
Yeah, and it also tries to convince us that people can't change, and that's just not true. I voted for Obama. I was conned by them. I'm man enough to admit it. Look, I did it. I was wrong. I got conned. And I wish more people could just admit their faults and when they're wrong, because none of us are perfect. And we're all going to continue. Like I said, we're all still going to make mistakes in the narrative war. It's almost a guarantee, right? We're not going to get every take right. We're trusting people that we're all currently trusting people that we shouldn't, and not trusting people that we should. Even if it's just a couple, right? We've all gotten some things wrong still. And that's okay. That's part of being human. When we get something wrong, all we have to do is admit it and move on. Like, look, I screwed up. I had the wrong take, and I was wrong about that guy or that gal, right? Like it's very simple. And that's how we unify. Again, it's back to the very beginning of the conversation. It's about authenticity.
Yeah, exactly.
Authentically, we have to accept our faults. We all have them.
It's less stressful. I mean, psychologically, you can actually connect with people, because when you double down on something in your heart, you know, to be unreal or untrue, you can't really connect with people. The mask connects with people, and then that creates all these other issues that, you know, creates problems. So, you know, I wanted to ask you, you were in the music industry, and we were just talking about how the prison industrial complex and the rap industry kind of had an evil partnership in the 80s, 90s. Me and Jordan on Knowledge Base last week.
Oh, you guys talked about that.
Yeah. It was a pretty good episode.
Very
People seem to like it. And, you know, Sammy, he's got some crazy stories. Obviously, I think anyone who's done a lick of research on the music industry and some of the crazy stuff that's happening there can see that there's something weird going on. Did you encounter anything strange? Any cool anecdotes, stories, things you saw that you want to share?
Again, I was a degenerate at that time. I was drinking, doing drugs, chasing loose women, all that silly stuff. I thought I was this cool, hip, open dude, and it turns out I was kind of a square compared to them. And I think that the way that works, I was also a Mason, by the way, and it's the same thing. I never saw anything. I'm not a Mason now because I've done research, and I know that group has been infiltrated. I also know it's still filled with really, really good people that just have no idea what they're involved with. But my point is that in either case, I was never really invited into any of the real dark shit. And I guess that's just because maybe they asked me questions or tried to feel me out for those things. And I was so oblivious that it just went right over my head. I did see some weird stuff in the music business. Like, you know, I used to go to the Grammys. I think the Grammys are tonight. Like, you couldn't pay me to watch them now. I used to go to the parties. I used to hang out with the celebrities and all the stuff. And one of the weirdest things was the guy that runs NARIS, or used to, I'm not sure if he still does. I think his name was Neil Portnoy. And I knew just from my own knowledge that the music industry, the corporates were the real dark people. Like, they were the ones stealing from the customers and the artists on behalf of literal gangsters. The reason why I was there was to try and change it so that the artists could have some modicum of control. But that guy in particular, when he would, you know how some people walk into a room and the room just lights up? Like, he would walk into a room and the opposite would occur. It would turn into a vacuum and all light would leave the room. And I was like, what? Even then, when I wasn't that awake, I was like, what is up with this dude? That's like the darkest soul I've ever encountered. Now it makes sense. This is the guy that runs the organization that runs the Grammys. And imagine the sick shit that he's been involved with in his career.
Oh, yeah.
Knowing what we know now. Like, I didn't know anything about that pedophilia or cannibalism. I had been to some fairly wild parties, and, you know, at Chateau Marmont, the Virgin America party, you know, up in the hotel room late at night doing drugs and hanging out. But again, like, I never saw anything that was like, wait a minute, that's wrong. I saw some things that were questionable, but there was never anything like, wait, what's that little child doing here with that person, right? Like, it was never like that. And I think I was too much of a square for any of those people to show their true colors around me. I also once bumped into Tom Hanks backstage at the Emmys. I had a ticket to be at the Emmys. I was managing a composer, but we crashed the backstage. We just walked back there because we know how to do it. Just pretend like you own the place and you walk in. Next thing I know, I literally walked into Tom Hanks and, you know, said hi and chatted with him for about 3 seconds, and that was it. But the crazy part about that is I've always felt like I have a pretty good gut feel about someone, and there were no bells and whistles that went off being around that guy. And my actor friends later told me, well, that's just how good of an actor he is. He can cover
Right.
up how dark he really is. So
Yeesh.
Yeah, supposedly it's not so great, but
What was the name of the guy you said was on the company that ran the Emmys? I missed that.
I think it's Neil Portnoy, if I
Neil
remember correctly.
yeah.
Are you guys familiar with-
NARAS is the name of the organization, a National
NARAS.
Association of Recording Arts and Sciences.
Did you guys on the Knowledge Base show get into Liar Cohen at all?
No.
He is probably a Mossad asset, definitely working with the CIA. He's responsible for the hip hop industry.
Liar, like
Did you play that
L-I-R.
Ice Cube clip with Bill Maher? Because I actually have that on my Instagram page.
Oh, if you got it ready to go, then yeah.
Well,
no, Mar.
No,
no, Ice Cube.
Oh,
But this guy here, though, just for the record, is apparently I haven't seen the evidence, but part of this CIA Mockingbird thing, he's backed major rap acts all the way back from like NWA and the Beastie Boys to like he's responsible for Migos and Young Thug and all these people right now.
Yeah, so
He's
it's
like
a CIA
guy.
op. You guys know that,
Yeah.
right?
It goes back to even Laurel Canyon and all that.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So these guys, and that's what people forget about rap. I'm old enough that I grew up, when rap was just starting. And I remember watching the news in like 1982 as an 8-year-old with the news going, is this just a fad? And I'm like, these people don't get it. Like these people from the streets and ghettos were talking about educating yourself about the corruption of the inner city and gaining knowledge so that you're not trapped in the system. And then in the early 90s, what did this guy and the CIA and all the other thugs in the music business do? They took the weapon away from the people of the inner city and they pointed it back at them. And they created this culture of this gangster culture. And that's when, most rap fans like me, that's about when I stopped following rap. Like, okay, this is over now. Now
Right.
they've ruined it. And I do have a clip of Ice Cube talking about this.
Oh yeah, can you get in there? All right, yeah, you can. All right, cool. Let me pull it up here.
Okay, let me hit play.
The prisons. Literally the same people? Literally the same people who own the labels own private prisons. The records that come out are really geared to push people towards that prison industry.
But they didn't make you write those lyrics.
It's not about making somebody write the lyrics. It's about being there as guardrails to make sure certain songs make it through and certain songs don't. Some records are made by committee, meaning record company guys sit around and tell the artists, this is hot, say that, do this. We're gonna have this guy write the lyrics. We're gonna have that. You have, the record company pushing the narrative. Some social engineering going on here to make sure those prisons stay full.
There you go. I mean, no joke. That's exactly how it works. And then, you were talking about the Grammys. That reminded me, I want to say something real quick. The award shows are an important part of this because what award shows do is it's like the hand of God from culture reaching down and saying, hey, all you plebs, this is what you should be looking at. This is what's popular. This is what you're missing out on. And if you've ever seen, I remember being a kid, like 8, 9, 10, all the way up to teenagers. And I didn't really get why people were like so worked up about like Academy Awards or Grammys and whatnot. But anytime anything got revered in one of those award shows, it was like almost instantly popular. At the very least, people looked at it more. So it's almost like the propaganda awards, when you think here Grammys and that.
William Stewart, at least according to him, there's this thing called Armageddon Masonry, which is a whole. It seems to be something that's continuing throughout the ages, going all the way back to the French Revolution, with the end goal of creating these different factions. And you got the 3 Abrahamic religions: Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. And relevant to today, we have Judaism and Islam potentially creating the mutually assured destruction of each other. But the whole purpose was at the end of this big multi-generational social engineering thing. You would have those three religions and a giant contingent of atheist, nihilist, communists. And if you look at the music industry, like what they were doing all the way back to Laurel Canyon, they were afraid of the anti-war rhetoric coming up, and they just are generally afraid of civilians and young people being anti-establishment. So they got, like Jim Morrison, whose father was involved in the Gulf of Tonkin. Homeboy, what's his name? Mustache, villainous looking.
Oh God, I know what you're talking about.
The dude you listen to all the time.
No,
I'm so upset. Frank Zappa.
That's it.
Frank Zappa. Other people, to try to keep them in line then. And then, obviously hip hop started out as a totally different thing than what it became. And what it became is still more of that like angry atheist nihilist kind of stuff. And
I'll do you one better. It started way before Laurel Canyon. What about Elvis and the Beatles?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And people were freaking out, and they were called like conservative radicals because Elvis was out there shaking his junk around. But like doing that to a bunch of little girls basically is like, and that got normalized. And there's that whole theory about the Beatles that Paul actually really did die in a car crash, and they just put a clone in there because they couldn't let go of their weapon of controlling the culture. You control artists like that, and you control the entire culture of the world. Those were cultural icons. And so I think it's been going on for a very, very long time. Even you go back to big band music during World War II and the rah-rah patriotic shit that they were putting out, which was great to support the troops, and we all should. But that war was fought on false pretenses, just like every other war. And we had no business being there. And all it was the cabal killing off A-type males, stealing resources, and causing havoc in areas so that they could steal a bunch of kids, which is what every single war has ever been about.
Yep. Yeah. And I think it goes so far back, it's really beyond our comprehension. I mean, one thing I like to think of is like, we've been the genetic humans that we are now, at least according to genetic research, for like around 250,000 years or so. And just think about how much has happened in the past 200 years of our history, let alone 250,000 years. So imagine if there was, maybe the agenda got affected way long ago. Maybe the world we're living in now was a carefully crafted narrative to pit people against each other. And that's been going on for like 6,000 years. So, I mean, who knows how far back.
And we're just stuck in a role-playing game where we keep having to hit start over. It's like Mario Bros. And like, oh, now you go back. Your soul goes back in. And, again, on the bigger picture, what my mission is I don't want to be stuck in 3D anymore. This place sucks. I'm tired of it. I've done it enough times. Like, I want to ascend spiritually to the fourth dimension, the fifth dimension. And guess what? A lot of the stuff that we argue about doesn't even exist there, right? Because that's not our true nature. That's what this Matrix game is built on, all this bullshit. And it's literally just a video game. We talked about that, Justin, on the episode we did together when you came on my show.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it gives me clarity to think about that. And then you think back about, like you said, about the programming. It's been going on for thousands of years. There's never been... Their big final, this was supposed to be our big final enslavement, and it backfired on them. It's the thing that allowed us to share information and share the truth with each other. And then millions and millions, if not billions of people have now woken up because of it. And we can share information with each other. And now we see them, we see their playbook, we see their game, and we're not having it anymore. And again, when you reduce it to the most reductive thing, all we have to do is stick together and not bow down to those cowards anymore. And they're cowards. I say it publicly all the time. I'm not afraid of Satan. He's a pussy. He's a coward. He's powerful. I don't I don't say that he doesn't have power. He does. And I didn't, until I woke up with this stuff, I thought that was more of an allegory. Then I saw, oh, people are actually doing satanic rituals and sacrificing adults and children to Satan. So if it's real to them, then it's real in this matrix.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm not saying that it's not real and there's no power there. I'm saying Satan is a pussy, because he can't create anything, and he knows it. And all he can do is subvert us with fear and control
Right.
us by fear. So if we don't fear him, then there is no control.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Well, we'll start to wind down here, man. What kind of closing questions, thoughts? We got a big election year coming up. Got, arguably a lot of stuff that's been happening this year. Any comments on some of the stuff you've seen this year? And what do you think's in store for next year? Are we going to have an election? What do you think's going to happen?
Man, it would take me a couple of weeks to sit down and recap the year of 23. What a wild ride.
Yeah.
And by all accounts, 24 is going to be even wilder. The astrology, the cue boards all lead to something big going down in the spring by April that is sort of a major shift in humanity. I don't know that means that. I don't think that means that all the truth will be out and everybody will be awake. The more I watch, the more it seems that they're waking up a few at a time. So if there is a plan, that they're waking up a few at a time, because if everybody wakes up at once, it's going to be chaos and we can't control it. And I think there's some validity to that theory. I don't know if there's going to be an election or not. There seems to be strong hints in both directions. Here's what I know. I love Trump. You can see I got my Trumpinator bobblehead here. I hope he comes back, because his first term to me was about waking everybody up. Like, guys, this government's way out of control. The second term, which is now, is really showing us how bad it was. And to me, the third term, if and when he gets it, is going to be about stripping 75% or more of the federal government, which only exists to commit treason against we the people and to steal our money. Having said all that, Trump is not the story here. We are. We the people are the government. Trump's whole movement, if you go back and watch his inauguration in 2017, when I wasn't even a fan of him, I've watched it several times now, says it's about restoring power, taking power out of Washington, D.C., and restoring it to the people. We're the ones who have to fix this. We're the ones that have the work to do, which means we've got a long way to go. I like to focus on how far we've come so I don't get too overwhelmed by how far we have to go. But we've got a long way to go, and it starts with us taking control of our own selves, then our own families and our own communities. And I do believe we're going to end up in a scenario where the future of humanity is based on small communities, small church groups, small food sources. That's why we did that show together about all of that, because if we don't end up there, we've failed, because that's what self-government is. We can't have this big, broad, electronically connected world and be able to control it, but we can control small communities one at a time. So I have no idea what's going to happen in 2024. I'm done making predictions on timelines. I do know it's going to be fucking bananas, and that God is going to win at the end of it, and we're going to be okay. All we have to do is survive. So if you're having a tough time out there, guys, just focus on that. Just survive one day at a time. If you build up enough strength that you think you can do more, you can start a Substack, you can start a podcast, you can start a Patriot group in your community, you can start a co-op farm or whatever in your community, then do whatever you have the strength to do. But your main responsibility is just to survive, to see the end where God's glory comes to earth as it is in heaven.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So I wanted to ask you if you could just hold up that book or say the title again. I was trying to find it to pop a link in the chat for everybody.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's
No worries.
Zilosophy on golf.
Zilosophy on golf. Okay.
The observations on the parallels between life and golf. It's on Amazon. Yes, I am a golfer. I wrote it because I was literally being bludgeoned by angels of God to write a book. And I was like, but I'm not a writer. And they just forced me to like sit down and start writing enough of this. And I literally went like this. Okay, well, you guys got to tell me what to write because I have no idea what I'm doing. And that's how I wrote the book. And it's really just an open letter to myself about these are the things I think I need to work on to be the best person I'm capable of being. It's set up like a golf course. There's 18 holes, chapters, and each one, Stillness in the Storm just popped a link in the chat. Each one has pro tips and practice drills. So how do you work on patience? How do you work on acceptance, right? I'll just throw one golf example at you. Anybody who's played golf knows sometimes you hit the ball in the woods. Now you can be pissed off at yourself no matter how good you are, or you can go find it, hit it out of the woods back into play and carry on. That's a great analogy for life. Things are going to go wrong and they're not going to go the way we would like them to. You can lament that and complain about it, or you can go, okay, how do I carry on from here? That's really what Zilosophy for me, the whole movement is about that. I was told by God when I started this that humanity was going to wake up and be told the truth about our nature and our origins. I thought it was just going to be some weird alien shit. I didn't know it was going to be like this. So I was told that when that happens, you're going to be one of the people that helps people pick up the pieces and find the way forward. That's really what my mission is at its smallest level. That's all I'm here for, is to encourage people through my own struggles and trials and tribulations to just keep going. There's glory at the end of this path, glory beyond anything any of us can imagine within this matrix construct. I was shown that when I started red pilling, and I wasn't shown a visual of it. I was shown a feeling of what it feels like to be in that world. I can't explain it. It's beauty beyond your imagination. It's worth it, which is why I'm crying. It's worth, guys, I promise you, all of this is worth it. I promise you. I was given a very brief glimpse of what it feels like to be on the other side of this. And that's what keeps me going, because I know that it's worth it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think, there's so much let me put it this way, the globalists have to spend trillions of dollars just to keep our spirits crushed on a regular basis. And despite all that, you got people like you, people all over the world, people like us who are still doing the good work, still seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And, that's something to be inspired about. So yeah, really appreciate you coming on. Definitely check out the book, everybody. I'll pop it in the chat again.
Yeah, great little stocking stuffer for people out for the golfer or non-golfer friends of mine have read it. They love it. So you don't have to know anything about golf to enjoy this book. And
you should send a copy to Trump. I wonder what he'd say about it. He plays a lot of golf.
Man, I'd love to. Believe me, I'd love to be in that circle. Wouldn't we?
Maybe you could get him to write the foreword to
there you go.
Second edition.
Wouldn't that be amazing? Hey, from your mouth to God's ears. The next one, when I get time, I've taken all my time to put into shows, and I'm creating a new show, as I touched upon. But the next book is going to be something to the tune of Zilosophy on the Great Awakening. And it's just going to tell my story of these last 3 years. And again, guys, the most important thing of the Great Awakening I've found so far is the more I wake up, the less I realize I know. What we do know is we've been lied to about everything. What we know for a fact at this point in the movie is actually very little. So I think we should all constantly remind ourselves of that, because we like to argue about, even within the movement, right? Well, this person's good. No, that person's bad. Like, maybe, more likely than not, but we don't really know.
Right. Yeah.
In most cases.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Well, hey, Dr. Z, thanks for coming on. It was a great interview. I love your spirit. I love your heart.
Thanks, guys.
We're all going to win this thing at some point here. So
anything you guys need from me, all you have to do is ask. I'm glad to help you and anybody at Badlands.
Well, we might start doing panel shows maybe once a month, see how it goes. So we're trying to recruit a small army of people, maybe do like small panels. We got Brian Cates, a couple of people who aren't even from this community, but are good journalists nonetheless.
I'm in.
Just come on, talk about something. I figured you'd be into it. So.
I'm
I
in.
love it.
I'm actually talking to SG and On about a similar concept. How do we bring people from different points of view within the movement and start doing digital panels first to show that we can actually unify with people that we don't agree with, and then start doing live events later in 2024 where we, again, it's about pushing the narrative of unity, and we don't have to agree to do that. So yeah, whenever I can have an opportunity to be a part of that, I'm glad to. In fact, I've been invited to a panel that I don't even know how I got on there, but it's Wano Savin, Nino, Jaco, Alpha Warrior, all these other big names, and me. And I'm like, I'm literally just going to sit there and smile, like just laughing that I ended up here. Hopefully make them laugh a little bit. But
I'm sure. Yeah, it'll be great. Hey, man, there's a, for those of you who don't know, there's a Boston kinship going on here, and there's a special wisdom that comes through the New England area that you've got an ample abundance. So
we grew up in the same county.
Yeah, it's crazy. Middlesex, right?
That's right.
Yeah. I love it. So, well, hey, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to check the link in the description. We got Dr. Z's socials and links in there. Particularly check out his YouTube, Rumble channel. Anywhere else you want to direct people or anything, closing thoughts?
No, I'd love to add some more followers to Rumble. My Rumble subscribers has been flat for a few months. I don't know why they're throttling me, but for some reason they are. Maybe it's because I talk smack about them too. I don't know, but go check that out. I got a big week coming up. Dan Radio Style is going to be on center stage tomorrow night to talk about being a successful podcaster. How can you stay independent and be successful doing this work? Tina Peters is going to be on Patriots Behind the Mic on Wednesday. And then Taylor French, our favorite godly rapper who's in the chat right now, is going to be on center stage on Thursday. So
nice.
All kinds of cool stuff coming up.
Do some sodomite bashing, right?
Yeah. I don't go as hard as he does. Like, I got a gay nephew, so I like to, I do like to troll. To me, it's just about commies. I don't care who you sleep with. If you're a commie, I'm going to troll you.
And if I don't care who you think, how much do you think your farts don't stink? If you can't take a jab every now and then you're wound up too tight. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Use that Grok roast feature. That helps you build some thick skin, because Grok can be pretty ruthless if you ask him to roast you.
Absolutely. Well, go to links in the description, everybody. Don't forget to check out his book. Also, the links are in the link tree. So if you get in the description, you're like, where are all the links? Just click on the link tree. They're all right there. You can find, I'm pretty sure, everything that Dr. Z's doing. Love you coming on. Love that the work you're doing, and you're welcome back anytime, man.
Thanks, boys. I appreciate it. Have a great rest of the weekend. Oh, what time's that show tomorrow? What time's your show tomorrow?
3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yep. Okay, I'll be there.
We go through till like 5 o'clock usually. It's a couple hours.
So. Perfect. I got some work to do at the desk, and I'd love to listen to you light the world on fire while I do it.
Awesome.
Yeah, say hi in the chat.
Yeah. I absolutely will. Take care, boys.
All right. Much love, everybody. Take care. We'll see you next time on Vigilant News tomorrow at 3 p.m. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up on this video and help this show get on the Rumble leaderboard. Another way you can support Badlands for free is by becoming a Badlander. Head over to badlandsmedia.tv, click Connect from the top menu, then become a Badlander. Once registered, you can download clips from your favorite Badlands shows to share on your social media accounts. You can also print out flyers and stickers that you can hand out at an event. Let's keep growing our community, because we are the news now.
Thank you so much for joining us, and don't forget to hit the thumbs up on this video. And a special thank you to all of our advertising partners. Please remember to shift your dollars to support those businesses that support Badlands Media.